Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. FPL Consult here. I hope you guys are having a good international break so far. I've had a couple of days off myself as well to recharge for the next few game weeks, and usually during the international break is when I like to take stock of what we've learned so far. So given that 7 game weeks has passed already, the sample size is big enough for us to kind of assess the players as well as the teams that we've seen so far and think about whether we need to change our perspectives on them moving forward. And that's what we're going to do in today's video, where we have a look at the team of the season, so essentially the highest scorers in all the different positions, whether it's goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders or forwards, and thereafter I'll share my thoughts and opinions on them as well. So if you guys do enjoy this one, please do drop a like, please do subscribe as well. And before we jump into today's video, I do want to shout out the charity drive that we are launching as of today's video, and the organization that we've chosen is Mindset. So the reason why I've chosen Mindset is because I resonate a lot with what they stand for. Mindset is a mental health charity where a lot of the programs as well as the events that they run are targeted towards raising awareness for mental health as well as reaching out to those in need of help. So I think what Mindset is doing, as well as the work that they've done so far, is something that I want to be part of as well. We are also on the road to 10,000 subscribers, so that is also an aim of today's charity drive, which is to get us closer to 10k subscribers but also do something meaningful for charity. So if this is something you'd like to be involved in, just feel free to hit that subscribe button. It's completely free for you. So let's jump into today's video, and I have the goalkeeper as well as the defenders in the team of the season so far on screen right now. So let's talk about the goalkeeper first, and it is Onana. So I think when I had a look at the team of the season, the goalkeeper position for me is the one that shocked me the most, because when we think about Manchester United as a defense, we generally don't rate them very highly. This season, they've also struggled in terms of performances. But when you look at the points scored in terms of all the keepers, Onana has scored the most points, 39 points. And you'd think someone like Raya, for example, who has gotten quite a huge number of bonus points this season, would be quite high up there. So he is, but he is still below Onana. So it's Onana followed by Sanchez and Raya. So I think when I look at this kind of points that we've seen so far, I think about whether I need to really change my perspective on Manchester United defense. So looking at the clean sheets so far in terms of all the different teams and how many clean sheets they've kept, Liverpool is up there, and we'll speak about Liverpool when we discuss the defenders because Trent and Konate are in this team as well. But Liverpool are up there with 5 clean sheets in 7 game weeks, so that is quite incredible. I do think like Liverpool's defense does look very solid of late as well. But a caveat is also that they've had quite an easy run in the first few game weeks. Their true test, as a lot of people have said, is in the coming few game weeks where they face slightly tougher opposition. So that is something to keep in mind. But you see that Manchester United are very close behind Liverpool with 4 clean sheets. So it is honestly, I guess, something that I did not expect would happen, especially looking at the fixtures they had in the first few game weeks. For them to come away with 4 clean sheets is quite remarkable, especially looking at the confidence as well as the mentality of players right now. Somehow, clean sheets wise, they're still able to pull it off. Now, further down the list, obviously there are teams like Arsenal, which we did expect to keep more clean sheets, but I'll speak more about Arsenal when we speak about Gabriel. But you can, of course, pause the video here if you do want to continue to look at this graphic as well as the different teams that have kept the different number of clean sheets. But I do think like it's focusing again on Onana and Manchester United as a team. Defensively, I don't think they are as bad as maybe in our heads they are. And as well, the fixtures moving forward are really good. So if you do want to jump on a Manchester United defender, say someone like a Dalot, for example, I honestly don't mind it. It probably won't be very popular in that a lot of people don't have a good impression of Manchester United right now, but I'm open to the idea that if I need to go for a player with good fixtures and has decent enough attacking threat, I really don't mind someone like a Dalot. In the keeper position though, Onana specifically getting 39 points largely came down to that penalty save against Southampton, so I probably wouldn't put too much weight into him being the highest scorer for the goalkeeper position. And still moving forward, if I am to get a keeper, it's probably going to be Raya as a double up with Gabriel, because I do still rate the Arsenal defense. But I think it's just interesting to see for the first 7 game weeks, Onana outscoring, these other keepers that we thought, would do much better than him. Right, so as for the goalkeeper position, in terms of the defenders, I have Trent, Gabriel, and Konate here. Trent being the highest scoring defender so far in the first 7 game weeks. So we'll start with Liverpool as well as Trent. I think when I look at Trent as an option, he is quite expensive at 7.1 million. And I do think like selling Trent now in game week 7 or game week 8, for example, is something that a lot of people are thinking about because Liverpool's fixtures moving forward are not the easiest. And he is expensive. So for many teams and the different structures that I've looked at, selling Trent is your key to getting Cole Palmer, for example, if you don't have already. So in that respect, to sell Trent, free up funds to get Cole Palmer, logically that makes a lot of sense. But I also think about Trent as an option so far and the returns he's been giving. He has actually the highest XA out of all the other defenders for the first 7 game weeks. And I don't think that's a surprise. I do expect that that's what we're going to continue seeing for the next few game weeks. And Liverpool's defense is still very good. So I think the question really is whether over the next few game weeks, you're fine to back Trent, which I honestly think if you're in a position where, somehow you don't need to sell Trent to get to Cole Palmer, for example, and Trent is someone you keep for the next few game weeks, I honestly don't mind it at all, and it's something I'm also considering for my own team. So Trent, 41 points so far, very good performance from him. Also largely down to the number of clean sheets Liverpool has kept, and he's also had 1 attacking return. So in total, 6 returns in the first 7 game weeks. It is quite remarkable. But I'll speak about Konate first because he's also from Liverpool. The difference with Konate is that he didn't start the season as someone that we expected to get regular minutes. But since Kwanzaa got substituted against Ipswich in the first game of the season at halftime, and Konate came in, Konate has since started every single game and played good minutes as well, right? So I do think like moving forward, my thoughts on Konate start to shift a little bit in that I'm more confident of his minutes, and if I need to downgrade Trent, for example, but I still want an entry into the Liverpool defense, I don't mind Konate at 5.2 million, and he does have decent enough attacking threat because we did see him score a goal from a Jota assist in the first 7 game weeks as well. So I do think like decent enough aerial threat. We know he's very good in the air. So Konate at 37 points is quite a interesting inclusion in the team of the season as well. Now finally it's Gabriel at 39 points. I honestly expected him to score a lot more points, as did a lot of other people as well. I look at the breakdown of the points he scored so far. He kept 2 clean sheets in the first 2 games, blanked against Brighton, and then did really well against Spurs as well. You remember that in that game he scored a goal, he kept a clean sheet, he got 3 bonus as well. That was around the time when he was at the peak of his performance so far this season. He goes on to score another header against Manchester City, and then people start bringing him in, and thereafter he blanks against Leicester and Southampton back to back. So honestly speaking, it was something that we expected was Gabriel to be at the top in terms of highest scoring defenders for the team of the season in game week 8 right now. But when I look back, I also do think like Arsenal as a defensive unit has been quite unlucky in the way that they've conceded. Expected goal conceded wise, they are still putting up very good numbers in that they don't give the opposition very quality chances, but it's quite unfortunate that the past few game weeks they have conceded goals. In terms of numbers wise, I still think that moving forward, Arsenal are defensive target, and I don't think double defense is something that I'm going to turn away from. It's more about when I jump on them. And looking at the fixtures so far, in the next few game weeks, they have Bournemouth. In game weeks 9 to game weeks 11, they have a tricky run of fixtures. That is probably when you don't really need to double up on Arsenal defense. So at this point in time, we're now in game week 8. I don't think I'd be rushing out to buy Arsenal defenders, but I would have it at the back of my mind as to when do I want to bring in Arsenal or more Arsenal defenders or defensive coverage in the next few game weeks, which is when I would say is a good time, is probably 12. That is when I think a lot of people will be hopping back onto Arsenal assets if you do offload them in the next few game weeks. So Gabriel, a great asset to have, probably one of the first few names when it comes to Arsenal defensive assets that you'd go for. It's more, I think, about the pairing that you really want, whether it's Saliba in defense that you choose to go with, or someone like Raya as a defensive double-up. So in midfield, we have Palmer, Salah, Luis Diaz, Saka, and Mbumo. So I'll speak about Palmer first. He is the highest scoring midfielder at 67 points, and he's actually tied with Haaland. That's how incredible his performance for the first 7 game weeks is so far. A huge chunk of the 67 points that he scored came in the Brighton game where he scored 4 goals. You would remember that as well. Some people even captained him that game week, so they've done really well. I think looking at Cole Palmer and going back all the way to the start of the season, I'll hold my hands up and say that I did not think he would be worth the 10.5 million that we were going to pay for him. But now when I put it into perspective, I think this is a shift that's going to happen moving forward, that people would now think Cole Palmer is good value for the price he's at. Now, I think when it comes to Chelsea as well, they just can't go too far away from Cole Palmer in that he's always involved, whether it's assists, whether it is goals. I just do think like Cole Palmer is someone that is so integral to the Chelsea attack that everything they have flows through him. He's in the form of his life now, and he just looks so hungry for goals. So he is definitely someone I would look to bring in. The main question right now in game week 8 is that he plays Liverpool, and aside from that, the fixtures moving forward are also quite tricky. So I honestly don't think now is the time that I'd be desperate to go and get Cole Palmer. But I think honestly, when I look at the game week 9 and game week 10 fixtures against Newcastle and Manchester United, specifically, I don't think those two are very difficult fixtures. And then later down the line in game week 11, he has Arsenal. So in the next 4 game weeks, it's going to be Liverpool and Arsenal that are the trickier fixtures. So you could argue that the earliest time to jump onto him is after this Liverpool game, which is game week 9 now, where they play Newcastle. That is when you could jump onto Cole Palmer. If not, I think you could wait until after Arsenal. Either ways, he is going to be quite a bit of money in that he is 10.7 million. So as I've mentioned just now, for a lot of people and for myself as well, selling trend is going to be the key to getting Cole Palmer. It's more a question of weighing up whether in the next few game weeks it is worth doing it, or should we wait until game week 12 to do it. So for Salah as well, at 62 points, he started off the season really well. He was matching Haaland in terms of returns for the first 3 game weeks. And then since then, it's died down quite a bit as well. I think people are starting to get less hot on Salah, especially now with the fixtures moving forward getting quite tricky for Liverpool and Salah blanking in the last few. People have started to sell Salah, and I can understand why they're doing that as well. There are a lot of mid-priced options popping up everywhere right now, whether it's midfield or forwards. I think the Spurs options such as Solanke and Brendan Johnson in midfield, even Kai Havertz doing very well. All these kind of mid-priced assets are popping up at the moment, and people think that it's worth going for them and instead saving the money from Salah and spreading it elsewhere. So I think there is good reason for that. But what I would say also at the end of the day is that Mo Salah is Mo Salah. There will be games where he does very well, and he is of course having a bit of a dry spell at the moment, but at the end of the day he is still, if I could play devil's advocate for a while, the best FPL asset we've seen in the past few seasons so consistently. So I would just say that selling Salah as part of a combination move to free up funds overall probably will improve your squad structure. But if you're in a position where you're not blocked by having Salah in your team and you can get to other players easily, then I honestly don't mind keeping Salah. I don't think you have to keep him through all the way to the next few game weeks. But say for example, Salah to Palmer in isolation for game week 8 specifically, I don't think it's a move you need to make. I mean, Salah is playing Cole Palmer, and I do back Liverpool to do quite well against Chelsea, right? So if I could just give a different perspective, I think selling Salah overall could make sense, but I wouldn't be, in a rush to sell Salah, right? So that's my thoughts around him. As for Luis Diaz, he's a player that personally for me has been quite frustrating on my game week 6 wildcard, but on the whole, when I look at him as an asset from game weeks 1 to 7, he has obviously done very well and made it into the team of the season. His returns, I would say, have not been consistent throughout the first 7 game weeks. It's been kind of up and down in different game weeks here and there. And that is where it's quite tricky when it comes to Luis Diaz. He's not someone that's going to return every single game. He will have spells where he does well. He will also have spells where he loses his spot to Gakpo, for example, which we just saw in game week 7 because of rotation, etc. Right? So I do think like Luis Diaz as an asset or as an FPL asset moving forward is probably done for me. Not just because he blanked in game week 6 against Wolves, but more so because moving forward, I cannot guarantee that he's going to start every single game. And would you rather, say, for example, go for a cheaper option in Brennan Johnson, for example, or other cheaper midfielders like Mbeumo, where, some people also don't have Mbeumo. So when I compare these two assets and what they offer, sure, Luis Diaz is in the team of the season so far. Yes, he's done very well. For those of you who held him through the points he's got, that is incredible. But moving forward, he is a player that I would think leaves the team of the season because the fixtures are tricky for Liverpool moving forward, right? So that's my thoughts on Luis Diaz. For Saka, he is most definitely the talisman for Arsenal. I just like how involved he is in everything. He has not blanked except for one game this season, and he's just looked so good for Arsenal. He's also a player that's very informed. And again, when I look at, Cole Palmer and Saka both doing very well, and Salah, starting to blank here and there, it raises the question again, right, whether people would rather have Palmer and Saka as the two midfield premiums instead of having Salah plus a Palmer or Salah plus a Saka. Right, so I just like Saka for what he offers. He's looking very good at the moment. And for Mbeumo, he's just someone that has scored so well in the first few game weeks that he's made the team of the season. Brentford specifically are not doing very well, especially defensively. Attackingly, I think they're alright, but overall, in terms of league position as well as the team performance, I think it is to expectation, right, that they are kind of a mid-table kind of a team. But as for Mbeumo as an attacking asset, I think he is elite in that he should be someone in the categories close to Palmer and Saka, but not someone that I put in the same category for sure, but just below, right? Mbeumo is that good to me that for me he's just below someone like a Palmer and Saka if I'm to rank these assets, right? So Mbeumo, I really like him as an asset. I think a lot of people who have him already are raking in the points. If you don't have Mbeumo, I would definitely be looking at how to bring him in. But just a thing on Mbeumo that I think may not be something we see moving forward is him keeping up the goal scoring that he's done so far in the past few game weeks. He is on a bit of an overperformance at the moment. If you look at the data, he has outscored his expected goals by quite a bit. I think that would kind of normalize over the next few game weeks. But overall, Mbeumo as an asset, how involved he is in the attack, his routes to points being set pieces as well as penalties, I just like what he offers. And honestly, he's just someone that gives you a peace of mind in that you put him in your team and you don't have to think about him. So I love him as an asset. Not too much else to say about Mbeumo there. So these are the midfielders in the team of the season, all who have done very well in the first 7 game weeks. More a question of whether moving forward they will continue to stay in the team of the season. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And let's move on to the last 2 players. So up front, it's Haaland and Nicholas Jackson. So I'll speak about Haaland first. As we can see here, he's tied with Cole Palmer at 67 points. He's someone that started the season in firing form. A lot of people thought, moving forward, he's just going to be a set and forget. But in the past 2 game weeks, we've seen him blank against oppositions where we didn't expect it would happen. So I think it also has seen those teams that have gone without Haaland do very, very well, in that those teams probably had Palmer, Salah, Saka, for example, and a lot of other kind of good assets up front, say Watkins and Havertz, for example, right? So you can go for all these slightly more expensive players in the midfield as well as the forward category, simply because you don't have Haaland. And that's just the nature of this season, I think, where there are going to be spells where Haaland is going to blank, and because we've spent so much money on him, that is probably quite a big downside, in that those who have gone without Haaland are going to see points elsewhere for their other premium assets. On that note, I also think that the converse is true, where if Haaland does really well, then those teams would probably struggle a lot, simply because Haaland is going to be a huge captaincy for all those who do have him, and the effective ownership is going to be very high. So I think overall, Haaland as an FPL asset, the main question for me is whether he's going to stay in the FPL team for the whole of the season, barring injuries, of course. I actually don't think that will be the case for my own team. I don't mind the idea of selling Haaland when they have tricky fixtures, if the opportunity and the time is right, where the wildcard windows, for example, or the transfers that I have will allow me to hop on and off Haaland quite easily, because he is quite expensive, so it's going to be tricky to move these kind of assets around and spread the money and then try to get them back again. But now with the rolling of transfers being up to 5 free transfers, I think that has become more of an option that has also made FPL this season more interesting. So I don't think Haaland is someone that's going to be in my team all the way. I'm going to look for opportunities where I can also jump on the no Haaland draft now and then to fight a bit of the effective ownership and really rise the ranks, because that obviously is going to be going against the grain and trying to gain a bit of edge. So I think for me, I'll be looking for opportunities. I wouldn't be going out to purposely do it. In fact, if there are game weeks where I need to keep Haaland, it's obviously not the worst thing in the world. But I'm not closed off to the idea of selling Haaland if the opportunity arises, which I think moving forward there will be opportunities, especially once Manchester City's trickier fixture run starts. But now, I think in game week 8, where they're kind of in the middle of their good fixture run, I don't think conversations are, heating up as to whether selling Haaland is an option. But I honestly think it will be as we move forward later on in the season. Now, for Nicholas Jackson, he's definitely a surprise inclusion here. He's at 42 points. But again, when I pull up the graphic of, the highest scoring forwards this season, yes, of course, Haaland is top. Nicholas Jackson is at 42 points, but I think you see a couple of surprising names here as well, and they're honestly not too far off from Jackson. So Jackson, barring this, 42 points, could have been someone like Welbeck, for example, at 41 points. There's also other names in the mix like Watkins, Havertz as well, who have all done very well. But I think in terms of perception-wise, specifically for Nicholas Jackson, my thinking has changed, and he's someone that is slightly more integral to the Chelsea attack, and he's slightly performing on a higher level, I would say, as compared to last season, which I did not think we would see, but it makes me more open to the idea of going for Nicholas Jackson. I haven't had it in my team for, first 7 game weeks, but I wouldn't rule out the possibility that when Chelsea's fixture run turns in game week 12, that he's an option we could go for. I would say first choice, obviously Cole Palmer, but Jackson is not someone I'm closed off to as well. So that's what I think about these players in the team of the season, as well as how their respective teams has done. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Are you surprised at any of these inclusions? And also moving forward, who do you think comes into the team of the season and who drops out? We will be doing more of this kind of content the next international break. Let me know if you guys have any feedback in the comments down below. And obviously, if you haven't subscribed already, please do subscribe. I will be donating 20 pence per new subscriber to Mindset, with the aim of helping the cause that they are working towards, which is to raise awareness on mental health and also reach out to those who do need help. If not, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, please do drop a like, and I will catch you guys in more international break content coming very soon. Bye bye.